Welcome into the Sources A podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball and recruiting podcast on the growing KSR Podcast Network. We're obviously not at a computer screen right now. We are on site, and this is one that we have been absolutely thrilled about. It's one that we've talked about, hinted about. We are at Jimmy's Kentucky Roadshow here in Lexington. The coolest place for my money that I've ever been to in my life. We're going to have Jimmy on to talk us through just this absolute masterpiece of a museum that he has. Artifacts that I promise you nobody else on planet Earth has. A couple like secrets that we're going to unveil for our viewers and listeners. So just so thankful for this opportunity with Jimmy. But before we get rolling with that, some pretty significant news for Kentucky basketball this past week, where Mark Pope gets the recruiting ball rolling. Malachi Moreno, the #1 center in high school basketball out of Great Crossing in Georgetown, is a cat. Big, both literally and figuratively. Zach, you've seen him in person. You were there at the ceremony. Just what was the vibe of the event and just the significance of Malachi Moreno, Kentucky Wildcat?
It's like rapid reacting here.
It's gonna be
seamless.
It's gonna be all over the place.
The scene, first of all, I don't know if anyone's been to Great Crossing before. That high school's nice. I went to a big high school at Dunbar here in Lexington. Great Crossing's awesome. So they had a great stage for him set up. They had banners above, like when he committed to Kentucky, they unveiled like him in a Kentucky jersey banner, which was really cool. They had pretty much the whole school there. It felt like, I mean, imagine you're missing third period because one of your classmates is committing to Kentucky. Like, that would be the perfect way to spend a Friday, honestly. So they had a bunch of people there. You had your administrators, your coaches sit up there and talk for about half an hour first, as is tradition in these commitment ceremonies. Then Malachi went up there, made his announcement. Not too much drama or anything with it. We all kind of knew where he was going in the end. But a major pickup, Jack. 7-footer, 210 pounds. In the rapid reaction, I said he was 2'10". I'll retract that right now. He's 210 pounds. Big kid. He's had a very strong summer, even in spring, going into the summer, finishing out his junior season at Great Crossing. Up to now, he's really kind of, not necessarily reinvented himself, but kind of taking himself from someone who is clearly a project to, hey, this guy like has real tangible talents now that you can actually see the development over the last 6 months. So I don't know how much you just want me to keep going on it.
So just the player.
I can talk for days about Malachi.
We'll circle back on the big picture recruiting efforts, what it means with the timing. But Shawn, you're our X's and O guy. You're our coach. You have seen Malachi up close and personally, closer to just about anybody. 7 foot, as Zach said, a guy that was seen as, okay, you see the vision there. He has the touch. He has the feel. He has the passing ability. He has the Mark Pope big stuff to him. But the way he has exploded in the spring and summer to become, I mean, there's a reason why he's ranked as the #1 center in high school basketball. What do you like about Malachi and his fit specifically playing for Mark Pope?
Well, I wish he were 2'10". So it would make my job easier. Yeah. So I know how good he is. Obviously, we game planned for him last year. He had a triple-double against us in a 5-point
good luck.
In a 5-point win for them, might I add. So we were right there. We just didn't have anything to compete with 7 foot, but really good player. I was just telling Zach before we started recording that he fits Mark Pope's system a lot better than he fit John Calipari's. Just offensively, catching the ball in the middle third of the floor, some of that delay offense that we've talked about on Sources Say breaking down this summer, he plays into that. He can pass the ball. I want to see how that shot continues to develop. I think that's going to be a big thing for his senior season and then moving into Kentucky here in a year. But it was good to get the ball rolling. He is ranked the #1 center in the country, but here's the cool thing about it. He's got so much upside and potential to his game that he can get even better. I like that he's staying home. He's pitching Kentucky to Jasper, and you finally got something on the recruiting trail that you have a guy that can go out and recruit for you, and I think that's the biggest thing about it.
Yeah, the cool part about Malachi is the coaching staff, the last one included with John Calipari, kind of pointed out, just said, you're soft. You're a below-the-rim center in Kentucky, and you're not dominating against Kentucky high school talent the way you should. You are a 7'10" dog, or did the same thing you did. What he grew 10 inches on the show. You are a 7 foot, 210-pound dog. Unleash it. Like, you got some stuff to you. Show that you can be that player. So for him to take that coaching, it would have been easy for him to go, oh, I guess I'm just soft. The staff doesn't really like me. I'm going to go to Indiana and prove to them that I'm as good as I appear to be. He took that coaching the last administration, but similar vibe with his new staff, and turned that into one of the most productive springs and summers of his entire high school, of his entire basketball career. That is good news for people that are hoping for him to kind of unleash that next level of his potential, that he's coachable. He knows exactly what he needs to work on to kind of elevate his game to the next level. He's already done it so much in the last several months. So much more room to grow.
And a lot's been made about, should he have gone prep? Does he play against enough competition in Kentucky? They play a tough schedule.
He's got plenty coming.
Like they played a national schedule last year. Like they went and I think maybe Myrtle Beach is where they were, and the City of the Palms this year. Like they'll play us possibly. Like there's talent in this state, and yes, he got better as the season went along. But he had a triple-double against us. I know just how hard it was to stop him. I think he had 10 blocks, 17 rebounds. He's a great team player. I think that's one thing that stands out to me on film. He plays with really good players. That's a great roster they have over there. Playing this summer on a really good AAU program. Like this is a kid that I really like in this class. I don't know what to expect immediately from him, but I think that seeing the long road with him, there's a ton of potential at Kentucky, and I think he'll just get better and better.
Yeah, so how we got to this point, Malachi was not expected to commit to Kentucky now. It was something that he had these 5 official visits scheduled, going to be an early signing period guy, but wasn't really a rush to get this thing over with. And then, poof, on a Wednesday, he announces that he's committing on Friday. That thing moved rather quickly. So I have some insight from several different outlets, sources, saying, if you will. Sorry, that was terrible. that was terrible. But Kentucky was pretty seriously, heavily pursuing Eric Reeby, who is the number 2 center in high school basketball, and there was significant interest on his part to say, hey, I know Malachi's your guy. I know there's a lot of interest there, but if he's not wanting to jump on this opportunity, I'm happy to. So it kind of got to the point between Kentucky and Malachi Moreno where he said, hey, you're the in-state guy. You're 20 minutes away from us. We want you to be the anchoring piece of this 2025 class, but you got to make a move because we can't wait forever. There's another really, really talented piece out there that wants to be a part of this, and we're only taking one. This offer will expire at some point. If you want it, but by all means take it. But if not, we might have to move on at some point. So that kind of expedited the process. But to do it now versus a week from now or 2-3 weeks away from right now, I think is much more telling in the other in-state talent, Jasper Johnson's recruitment. What do you think that means, Zach? Their desire to kind of get the ball rolling and say, hey, you're not going to be our first commit, but we would like to have some help on the recruiting trail to potentially bring Jasper in as well.
Well, I do find it interesting that I think Reeby made his official visit to Kentucky, or announced it that same day. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see if he actually ends up taking that official visit. That'll be pretty telling if Kentucky is actually serious about adding 2 bigs in Pope's first class. And then, yeah, you have the whole Jasper aspect to it as well. Get yourself on board. Maybe makes it a little bit easier for a guy like Jasper to be like, hey, I've got I'm not going to be the first guy. There's going to be other talent already there. You can even shift that over to a guy like Braylon Mullins, who's AAU teammates with Moreno. Arguably, well, not really arguably, like he is the best shooter in this class. He's a guy that's got all his official visits lined up. I know for a fact that Malachi committing to Kentucky has helped Braylon Mullins or Kentucky with their pursuit of Braylon Mullins. And like the same thing with Jasper, it just gives you a piece to build around. And so you're not trying to be that first guy. And having it be a homegrown piece, I think, helps for PR purposes, all the things that you want to talk about. As far as does it actually affect Jasper's commitment? I don't think we really know, because I don't think Jasper's recruitment is really anything that any of us really know what's actually going on, and we'll just kind of all find out next week when he announces, like our friend here reported yesterday. I do think it helps, though. Obviously, I think those two are close. They've talked to each other. They're friends. They've known each other for years. Malachi made his grand pitch immediately after committing, saying that Jasper, you know where home is. But regardless of what happens with Jasper, this was a huge commitment to just get in sooner rather than later, because you don't want Malachi taking that Indiana visit with Braylon Mullins a month from now. You don't want that to happen. So for what we know, Malachi's not going to take any more official visits. So that just takes that off the board. Then you've got Braylon Mullins is not going to like Alabama anymore. So there's another team off the board. It's just helping a little bit, get things rolling a little bit more. Now Pope can really start to lock in on the guys that he really, really wants and can prioritize these guards and other wings that he's really looking after.
And I'll add this too, like you want Jasper. Hopefully they get Jasper, but you have a local kid. You at least soften the PR hit a little. You've taken a local kid, #1 center in the country. If you lose another in-state kid to, let's say, Alabama, North Carolina, there's going to be something comes from it negative, but you at least have something now to jumpstart your recruiting, which has been the biggest question we've had all summer is who's going to be the first commitment? Is Kentucky going to be able to recruit under Mark Pope? You're starting to see that now come to fruition.
And I think there's been a lot of misinformation out there and just what the priorities are for Jasper. And yes, money is a thing, and a lot of the movement that we're seeing on social media and message boards, I think a lot of that is very financially focused, whereas the decision itself will be between Dennis Johnson, Jasper Johnson, and mom and the very, very, very immediate family. Those guys are going to factor in culture and fit, playing style, NBA success. What type of role I'm gonna have. Those types of questions a lot of people aren't really factoring in whenever they say, well, I'm hearing North Carolina came in at the 11th hour and threw a couple extra $100,000 in there. That stuff I think is so far blown out of proportion and really in the grand scheme of things isn't going to make a difference in Jasper's recruitment. This is one that they've done this before. You have Dennis Johnson, who was an superstar pass rusher at the University of Kentucky. He's been a recruited, highly sought after recruit back in his day. Like, he knows how to deal with this process. He knows the good, the bad, the ugly that comes with that. So I would just not focus too much on the massive sways that is kind of perceived on social media and kind of message boards and those things, and just understand that they're keeping things close to the vest. Like I think it's been closer than people have given Kentucky credit for, because it's been seen as this Alabama versus North Carolina race for months now. I think it's been a closer to a three-horse race without a whole bunch of movement. Now, if I were to peg my favorite, I would say Alabama's a slight leader with Kentucky slightly behind, because that's the longevity. It's the relationships that Nate Oates and Preston Murphy and the guys on that staff have been able to establish months and months and months beyond what Mark Pope has just physically been able to. They just have a longer runway to work with. Mark Pope takes the job in April, has to make up a lot of ground quickly, and he has, to their credit. So let's just not get caught up in the politics of just the PR and things like that. You got the PR win with Malachi, which is really, that's a massive thing. But as Shawn and I have talked about on the show a lot, it's not Mark Pope's job to win PR battles. PR does not matter at the end of the day. He's done plenty of that with the sold-out Rupp Arena introductory press conference. He has crushed the PR game every single step along the way up to this point. Got another one with Malachi. You got to do what's best for the program. If it takes throwing this unbelievable bag at Jasper to just get him to commit, if he doesn't really want to be a part of this, and he's a kid. He grew up a North Carolina fan. You can't force a kid to be here if he doesn't want to. Don't overpay at the cost of hurting you with other negotiations and recruitments and things like that. So I think they're handling this process very, very well. I think Kentucky is still very much in the thick of things. But if they miss on him, I don't think it's going to be the PR nightmare that's probably going to be made out to be on Twitter. And Kentucky has backup options. They'll go after a Caden Lewis. They'll go after Mikael Brown. They'll hit the transfer portal if they miss on both of those guys. They have contingency plans that I think Kentucky, the short-term hit may suck, but long-term, it's not going to impact wins and losses the way I think some Kentucky fans are going to take it one way or the other.
And there's no, you're not trying to value one more than the other. They play a different position, but and
it's timing as well. He's the first to commit.
You can't teach 7 foot, and especially when it's 20 minutes up the road. That's something that you got to get in here, and they did. And I think that's the great start. Like you said when we opened the show, get the ball rolling. That's something we've talked about for months now. They have it rolling. Now let's see where it goes from here with that momentum. If it ends up being Jasper, then you get 2 in-state kids back-to-back. It'd be a poetic way to start the Mark Pope era in recruiting with all the you know what I mean, the ties to UK to go get 2 in-state local talents back to back. That'd be pretty cool.
You also could have, if Malachi does what I think we all expect him to do, 3 straight Mr. Kentucky basketballs. Yeah. Which I did like some light research. That hasn't happened at UK. 3 Mr. Basketball winners come to UK since the 80s. I think it was like Pelfrey, Rex, and someone else, like 3 in a row. So that's pretty cool. One more thing I'll say about Malachi is, and I was talking to Shawn about this before we hopped on, he's not talking like someone who expects to come in and play 25, 30 minutes a game. He's almost talking like he expects to be a reserve going into his freshman season. I think that's important because for all the nice things we say about Malachi, he has gotten stronger, he has got more physical, but there's still another step that he needs to take. He still needs to be more aggressive scoring the ball, I think, and especially he really needs to try and expand that range a little bit. I don't know if he should be shooting threes yet, but I would like if he can really knock down consistently that 16, 18 footer, the free throw line jumper, that's going to make him really effective because we've seen the playmaking and everything. But he knows that he's going to come in and because you bring in a guy like Brandon Garrison to be your future center. You know, you want to try and, unless he has an amazing year and goes to pro immediately, you're kind of pegging Brandon Garrison to be your guy next year. And then you have Malachi behind him, and then you kind of just work your way throughout the years. You rotate centers, you know, bring in 5-star or 4 stars after 4 stars like that, 5 stars, whatever. So I think that's important because Malachi seems to fully understand that he's not coming in playing starter minutes right away. He'll have to develop a little bit, and that's a little bit different than what we're used to here at Kentucky because normally if you get a top 25 kid under John Calipari, they're expecting to start right away and go to the NBA the next season. That does not seem to be the case by all accounts from Malachi.
And I can say this too about Malachi, just from scouting. You're talking about a guy that watched a ton of great crossing tape a year ago. I'll do the same thing here in a few months. But he's a great kid, great teammate. A lot of times, a lot of talk is he a dog? You think, the comment that I get made all the time, he's 7 foot tall. Shouldn't he do more? He plays with some really good guys up there.
Yeah.
And I don't see him try to force anything when you turn on the tape. He passes the ball well. He moves well, blocks shots. He has some form that I think has the ability to add a consistent jumper, which he will have to do playing in this offense. But the biggest thing is he handles it well, and I think he's going to be able to pass it well out of that the middle third spot, which is what you have to do. We've watched tape. Khalifa at BYU a year ago. You have to be able to move and facilitate. He can do that.
And his head coach has even talked about this year trying to have him bring the ball more. Or bring the ball up the court after rebounds, not dishing off to a point guard immediately. Just grab the ball, get up the court, and go. And he's capable of doing that. I remember seeing it just a little bit last year in the Sweet 16. But if he can do that, and then with his playmaking ability, you've got a very interesting prospect in Malachi.
And something I think Kentucky fans will definitely appreciate as well. Talking to people that were involved in the decision, NIL got pretty stressful for them. They hated having to deal with the negotiations and all that, and
Must be nice.
And they actually kind of made some internal decisions to say, you know what, we're going to do things our way. We're not going to turn this into a bidding war. NIL is not the end all be all because we know that if he goes the pace that we kind of expect him to and he trends the way we hope and expect him to, that money will not matter for him ever again for the rest of his life. With Kentucky across his chest, money is going to take care of itself. We just saw Reed Shepherd become the number 3 draft pick and sign a $50 million rookie contract, and then he'll have the second and then third contract, and he's going to be set for life. And even if he didn't get that contract, being the in-state talent and embracing the local, hometown hero vibe the way he did, he's set for the rest of his life. He'll never have to worry about money another day. Malachi chose that approach, saying, I know I can probably milk another $100,000 or $2 out of these schools involved if I prolong this and turn it into a bidding war. I don't want that. I don't care about that. The money will take care of itself. I want to be the starting point of this class for Kentucky and kind of keep the main thing. And I think that will be music to a lot of Kentucky fans.
Yeah, and being close to home, being close to family, I know that's something that's very important to Malachi. His brother, you all know that. He was a really successful high school basketball player in the state. Really good college basketball player. I think that helps him a ton too, especially that his brother played recently.
Well, we have a really, really big show ahead of us. Really, really fun stuff.
There'll be Malachi balls and jerseys in here just surrounding the place.
I'll say this. When I stepped in here, I thought I was stepping into the UK history, Oh, this is sports history.
History in
Yeah,
general.
this is history
World
in
Series
general.
bats
Right.
and
There's
balls.
everything
It's
in it.
everything.
Jack has teased this place to me before, but I didn't expect the amount of actual memorabilia and like game worn stuff that we got to see here, and like, you know, not just like a regular season game like in the middle of against Colgate or something like that. Like
That's probably in here, though.
John Wall's Miami like game winner game. Like you've got tournament games in here. Oscar Shibwe stuff in here, which we'll talk about later.
There's a World Series trophy over
And there's
there.
a World Series trophy down here for whatever reason. But there's so much stuff in here that's really like just mind blowing, honestly, to look at. You got a bunch of jerseys, shoes, and everything. They'll do the whole tour. So whenever I hop off here,
It's going to be a blast. We're so excited. Zach, thanks for jumping on and talking about Malachi. You've become the recruiting expert around the KSR part. So we very much thank you for it.
yeah, I wasn't here to talk recruiting. I was here for this, but thanks for having me on.
I will say you had a nice assist the other day moving someone out of the camera. That's the only way I was able to even see the live stream.
Yeah, so me and Steve, we coordinate. Yeah, we're on the same wavelength at this point. We got it.
Well, we will be executing our trade for Zack Geoghegan. Appreciate everything that he does. And for Jimmy Mahan, the star of the show here today. Come on in, buddy.
I don't want Zach to go. Yo, come on. I'll sit on the couch.
No, you're the star, man.
Oh, man. I'm just an old guy that collects cardboard. Come on. We're good to go.
Well, Jimmy, this is just an honor because, you know, you and I have become very close friends with all this, and that part's been just an absolute blast. But this is your thing. I mean, you've become the kind of the collector. You've been the superstar collector here in Lexington. Just start off, how did you kind of get to the point? Where did you fall in love and kind of develop this passion to create just a wild place like this?
Well, I would say first, I grew up in Kentucky. So I love this more than some of my cousins, probably. I love Kentucky basketball, love everything about it. It's impossible to grow up here and not have some attachment, but I adore it. It brings me a lot of joy. And then over time, I realized there's a way. I was a history teacher at one point in my life, and I think the best way to describe it, I heard it actually of a reporter talking about Secretariat in the 30 for 30 or 50 greatest athletes on Secretariat. And this reporter said a lot of people had Belmont tickets to Secretariat and they did not cash them. They kept them. And he said the reason why is when you're around greatness and a little piece of that glitter falls on you and you hold on to it, you feel a part of that greatness. And to me, that's how I feel about collecting. When I get a pair of shoes from, you know, the 96 season or the 2012 season or just anything with Kentucky basketball, I feel more of a part of that than just having grown up here. And that's a perfect lead into collecting cards. So to me, it was a very natural progression, and I adore it. I adore it.
So you talk about kind of having the sprinkle of history. You were a part of Kentucky basketball for a moment in time. Talk about kind of that, how you were a part of, you know, the Kentucky basketball teams during, you know, under Tubby, and just kind of transitioning from being a part of the team to kind of just being a massive fan of the team.
So at the time, I was a teacher in North Carolina, and I had a friend that was an assistant strength coach for UK, Tommy Boyd, and he said, hey, you know, there's a opening on the academic counselor GA side. You should interview for it. You're a teacher now. And I said, well, that sounds cool. And I was just in Lexington for the weekend. So I walked in, interviewed, and got the job and quit my job as a teacher. Moved up. I had gone to boarding school for high school, Virginia. I was at Washington and Lee University. So I'd been gone for a while. And I just knew at some point I was coming back home. So when I got there, it was J.P. Blevins senior year, Tayshaun Prince senior year, Chuck Hayes not rookie year, I'm sorry, cards, freshman year, all of that, and Josh Carrier, Matt Heisenbuttle, and so all those guys, I was the GA, their academic counselor for, with Michael Stone, who was the real star of that show, and Bob Bradley, and did that for a little while. I didn't do it for more than about 2 years because when you're under NCAA regulations and you can't like write on the piece of paper and like normal English teacher stuff, like you need a spelling mistake here. I was like, I cannot do this because it was wild. It's like, that's a violation. That's like, no, forget that. But I did it for 2 years, and I kept my friendships. So, like, I've got a jersey from Tayshawn's Olympic Redeem Team time that he signed to me, and things like that mean the world to me. But I was traveling around with the team for 01-02 for quite a bit, and that was incredible. But then I went back and was a high school teacher and principal. I had a weird life. I've had a crazy life. Then I quit that, and I helped start a bank, and then I did that for a decade. Then I quit that, and I moved into a foster care group home with my wife. And then,
The GOAT, by the way.
Yeah, she is the GOAT, because this was all in our house, so that's really the GOAT. And did that, and then that actually is what led to the card shop. I was just a collector, and I was opening a pack online, which is what a lot of people do to show their stuff. And I hit a Zion RJ card, signed by both, 1 out of 1, peak Zion hype, when everybody was just freaking out. Like, Zion could walk outside and check the weather, and it'd be like 8 million views or whatever. But I hit this card, and at the time it was about $15,000 card out of a $3 pack. But so I'd just been at the foster care home, so I sold it and gave it all the money to them. It was about $15,000, and I didn't think anything, like, they needed it way more than we did. I've got enough stuff, anyway, somehow CNN heard about it. It ended up on CNN. Then Wall Street Journal came to my house and did an article and saw all this, and then Forbes came, and then it just kept going crazy. So then I was like, I think that when you collect, in the back of your head, you're always like, man, it'd be really cool to run a shop one day. And then I was like, okay, if you're ever going to do it, now's the time. And then that turned into, of course, number one, we're starting here in Kentucky. And it turned into 4 more shops, California, New York, Texas. And then now we're about to open a shop in Bogota, Colombia, selling soccer cards, because I know people that, like, it's wild. I don't know how I get to I'm always like, I'm just an old redneck. Why am I here? I don't know. But I love this, what I do, helping kids and people, and you know this. Is what we do.
So we'll talk about the crazy cool stuff that he has, and there's nowhere on planet Earth that has things like this in this shop. If you're a Kentucky fan, it's a must. You have a fan obligation to come here and come see this. But you also still hang around the program, have some friends around the program, and you get to see this team. So it's been a really weird off season for us, because we go from loving Cal, just so many amazing memories with him, to the abrupt departure, to restarting with Mark Pope and beginning a new fresh era. Bittersweet for you, because you were close friends with Cal, and now transitioning into another really cool time to be a Kentucky fan. What has that been like for you?
It's really, it's great, and it's, tough. He's a great friend. Obviously, I think he did a great job. They filmed Pawn Stars in here, and he was in here as me, Chum, and Cal. Another one of those situations where I'm like, why am I here? I don't know. But he's great. I do think it was probably best. I think the best way I've heard it, and it's just time. It was time. I think it's good for him. I think it's really good for us. I think that is how I feel, honest opinion. But I remember I was in high school, and I actually went to New York to the '96 Final Four and saw Pope win it and all that. That was really big, because when you're in boarding school, there's a lot of trash talk. And when I came back to boarding, I was loaded for bear, man. Come on, let's go. But I'm really excited about what I've seen so far. It's a very different style. Neither one was wrong. But the emphasis that I see with Pope, with the guys, and on the character and the way, Cal did it too in a different way, but I really like what they're doing about wearing the name on the front of the chest and the way that comes across. And then what I've seen of actual basketball, I was a coach myself in North Carolina for a high school. It's exciting. I was I don't know, you should pass more. I'll just yap. But
you're stealing the thunder, because I was gonna tee you up so nice and be like, and he's got some eyes and ears on the ground, being at a couple of the practices. He has seen more of this upcoming team than I have, than Shawn has, than any of us have. What do you like about Pope's first debut roster in Lexington?
Sorry, I was rolling. I was rolling. Again, a teacher.
That's what this is for. That's why we're here.
I'm used to filling up 45 minutes on Shakespeare, man. We can go. But I think one thing I really love is it's very much a system. I mean, you can see that in the way I was at that TBT scrimmage back and forth at practice with the TBT guys. And I mean, our young guys were beating them like a drum, most of that. I couldn't believe it because they were obviously very good. Now, it was early. The old guys were getting back in shape, some of them. But some
of them still are not in shape.
That is very true. I still would not want to guard Daniel Orton. But anyway, that's like
He'll kick your ass.
Yeah, all of it. And then just, oh, yeah, terrible. But the interesting thing was of how systematic the moving the ball around the perimeter, boom, 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 open. It almost reminded me a little of Bama. I was at the practice before Bama game last year when they were talking about Bama's going to drive and kick, give up the layup and go, which was a weird thing to hear. But we did a lot of that against TBT. Go in, kind of contested layup, kick it to the three, boom. And we had 6 guys that could hit the three. And beat those TBT guys by 20 in that game. It wasn't close. I really like that it feels very interchangeable. That like, oh, take out Lamont, put in Creasa, let's go. And that you're recruiting for somebody that does that thing well. And we didn't even have Brea healthy to be in that game. We didn't have everybody in that game, but to be that level in July was, oh my gosh, let's go. I can't wait. And it was very different. The Cal practices were very NBA feeling, and this was not. This was, we are here, get better right now, every day. Again, not that Cal didn't want to. It's just a different feel with the same goal. But I think it felt more like something back pre-one-and-done era, like, no, the understanding the assignment. And that's what lifted me up. And I'm going to go to as many of those as I can, man. Let's go.
There's a lot of talk about the type of teacher that Mark Pope is. What's it like to see him in action? Is he getting the thick of it? Is he out there leading everything?
He was. Not as much stop and start as I'd seen in years past, but when it was time to stop and teach, it's not yelling, it's none of that, and not that Cal did a lot of that, but it was very instructive. And then very much going around to all, like when it's shooting free throw time and all this, like, do this, here's what I'm talking about in that play. There's a lot of individual instruction that I'm like straining my ear, like trying to lean in and look, and I just loved it. And then all the other involvement too from the other assistant coaches, where that to me was another thing that stuck out of how good of a teacher they all seem to be. As an old teacher, I'm watching how they do it. And I haven't been in a session when they're up on the board, which I used to go to some of those, and that's pretty fun to watch how they do the different, because you got audio learners, visual learners, and what I saw, though, in the practice court was incredible.
All right, cut to the chase. Who are the standouts? Who are the guys that Kentucky fans are going to be obsessed about?
I think, one, I didn't see, let's see, okay. I would say the first one that pops to mind was Andrew Carr. Like, I really think he's going to be something special. I do. He was a garbage man out there cleaning up stuff, man, just rolling, putting back stuff against. Even if you're out of shape, it's still Willie Cauley-Stein. It's still Daniel Orton. These are not small human beings. And he was out there. And one thing that stuck out was in the right place at the right time. Everybody seemed to be there to receive the pass, to get the shot off, not contested, not wild. And I enjoyed that. I think Jackson Robinson's going to be a favorite. I think Crease is going to be a favorite just because of the way he talks. Like, I only got to see, again, I only saw one full court up and down. But I think Carr is going to be pretty surprising. And then Garrison, right? I saw a clip of him, I think it was last night with you guys. Man, he is big bodied. He's bigger than I thought he was, and he's gonna get in there. Some guys are raw. I mean, I think Chandler was a little raw, but he's been on a mission. But again, even if you got into the paint and didn't look good on getting the shot up, he got to the right spot. That's just timing. That's just time. He'll get that when he gets back. So I feel really good about our guys. I like my team.
The very popular man once said that here in Lexington. We'll see some of his stuff here in a second. Let's jump into it because there's so much to see, so much to digest and soak in. So I'm going to kind of let you lead the way and say, Lord, this is cool. This is the best thing that I have. This is my favorite thing. Here's how I got this one. I want this to kind of be your thing. That's why we're doing this. So so I'm going to let you have the mic, and we'll kind of be in the background and say, "Oh, tell me about this one." We'll just kind of follow your lead here.
Well, cool. The first one, and I'm so sorry. I'm just so glad. I go to all these card shows all over the U.S. Cleveland. I just got back from New York. All this, but here my accent blends in. I'm so excited. Like otherwise, people just look at me like I'm like they just start deducting IQ points right off the bat. But we don't even have to move for this. These are a couple of my favorites so Oscar is a dear friend, and we actually got to be friends not through cards or Kentucky or any of that, but through prayer group. It's based on faith. And we got to be talking, and it's nuts. That's us in London together, and we were out and about. But that is his Rising Stars jersey. Actually, Sotheby's sold it, and I bought it, but that's when he dunked all over Walker Kessler, and it made me so happy that he does that. But you'll see kind of sprinkled around here, you'll see all kinds of trophies like the Oscar Robertson trophy. And like the first 2 or 3 months, I actually drove Oscar up to Indianapolis to drop him off for the NBA, which that's a new experience. And he has all these trophies, but he didn't want to take him to the hotel. He didn't have storage here. He's like, Jimmy, I'm going to put these in your shop. And I was like, that's ridiculous. That's awesome. Like walking in and seeing the Heisman every day. I get to walk in and see the AP Naismith Player of the Year or the Wooden Award or the Oscar Robertson. Now, he's definitely going to take these back. These are not like gifts. But there's quite a bit of Oscar stuff in here because some of it he gave to me and other bits he's just got on loan. But they don't belong in a daggum card shop. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, this is crazy. So,
well, we can't overlook. Denim. I mean, this is the new era to a T. What about this Mark Pope jersey?
Don't worry, I wasn't forgetting. I was going to show you the back because it's bored. But around here, that's the beauty of it. Kentucky fans know. This is actually on. This one is on loan from a friend of mine named Greg. This is his jersey. I've got Antoine Walker's that I own, and these are Antoine's shorts, and I've got Mercer's shorts. But Greg, believe it or not, I believe his museum makes mine look like a kiosk at the mall. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous.
Don't believe that.
I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. But this is Pope's jersey from the Final Four or from that year. And, man, it had to go up. It's time. It's time. Let's get it up. And I found an old dead stock pair, unused pair of the Converse from back in the day. And Tony Delk did a signing in here. And I had to get him to sign that. Tony's like one of the greatest dudes of all time. So we got a lot of pro stuff over here, and then the good stuff, right? The Kentucky stuff.
Although I do like Terrence Clark's McDonald's All-American shoes. That's something that catches my eye every time I'm in here, you know.
And then it was pretty awesome because somebody made a custom card of that from one of his autos and gave that to me to put up in here. A cool thing, when we opened a shop in California, Chris Mullen came and we had him there. Actually, we had him in New York because we had a connection through St. John's, and he came to be at the opening, the grand opening. And we got to talking, and he had a great time. He was like, if you do this again, call me. I said, we're actually opening right next to the Golden State Warriors. And he said, I'm in, da-da-da. So, of course, I thought about it, and it's like Chris Mullen's final collegiate game was in Rupp Arena at the '85 Final Four.
Wow.
Which is the floor in the other room, the actual baseline from that game. So I went out and found a pennant of the 1985 Final Four and got him to sign it. I just need to get him actually here to hang out with us, which would be amazing.
Would it be all right to open some of these?
Oh, of course, okay. Please. They're a little janky, so I will start in here. Here's another one of Oscar's trophies. I told him if he starts bringing his mom's laundry, I'm going to cut him off. He can't bring any more stuff. But This is one of my favorites. I've actually got the box that goes with it, but after Claude Sullivan passed away, I bought some things from his estate. And this is his personal microphone that he used the whole time. And he used it in the 1966 Glory Road Final Four game, which of course we lost, but that's a good thing because it, ushers in, the era of African-American athletes, which is a good thing. But that is his mic. He also used it for all the other Kentucky games, so a lot of famous games were called on this mic. Of course, everybody thinks it's a ray gun. Why you have a ray gun in it? I'm like, it's not a ray gun.
I just want to know why we're not using that for this right now. Like, we should have that hooked up right now, and you talk into that.
I don't
you sound
know.
like straight out of 1966.
It's going to sound like it, too. Like, I don't know if you got the right chords for that sucker. I've got a friend that actually, his name is Alex Connell, and I actually gave him a pretty big card at Center Court Representative, but he hand draws these, and he now hand draws cards for Topps, which is amazing. But that's of Tayshawn's block against Reggie Miller, which is one of my favorite moments. It's pretty cool. 1937 football helmet. Jamin Davis was in here, and I said, hey, do you want to wear that on Sunday? He said, no, thank you. Which is quite amazing, but that thing is old school. I think the shoes are some of my favorite things in here. I'm an old sneakerhead. This was actually Carl Town shoe that is featured on the Complex. You can find it on YouTube when they released the Kentucky Dunks, the lows, and Cal was on the show. And they did that whole show, and they used a bunch of shoes from here. But he talks about how they had to mold Carl Town's feet and use that for it. And then those are the Drake shoes, which are the OVOs. They're kind of crazy, but the unique thing about this is usually it has a 23 for Jordan on here. But these
like
have,
this one.
like that one
Similar.
over there. It's called the Calipari Pack. And those actually I bought from a shop right next to Nike in Oregon. And I was like, I don't think these are priced or what they're supposed to be, and the only time I've seen those out in the wild are actually on Drake's feet. Those weren't his shoes, but I don't think that there are many pairs of that. And then you come in and there's lots of different things like Ashton Hagen's shoes here, but if you look here in the background, that was the dunk against Louisville, the overtime game, and the shoes he's wearing when he dunked, you can see it's the same pair. And I bought those directly from Ashton. And then you've got...
So if you don't mind me asking, how does a negotiation like that work with when you go to Ashton Hagen's? Do you say, name your price? Do you come in with an offer? Like, how does the back and forth work?
Name your price can be a little tricky depending on... But I'll say, hey, these go for about this, but obviously you're a Kentucky player. I'll say, what do you think about this? Now, the interesting thing actually is more the negotiation with the younger players versus the older players, because the younger players don't care. They don't keep any of this. And we've had, Coach Eulis been in here. And he's like,
That's a weird thing to say. Coach Eulis.
Yeah. Oh, man, that sounds great. We had no idea what these would be worth. And the younger players, even if they do say, would you take those for $300? Like, sure, no problem, because they're even in a store they're $250, and it's like, yeah, I'll pay you.
You buy those brand new for $250,
right? But the older players, they have more experience and knowledge of what they have that could sell for more. But the younger players don't. And there's not much to it. There are lots of name tags in here too that my friends that work in Kentucky will grab at the end of games. Edris Adebayo from the SEC tournament. Lots of cards, of course. But then one thing that's like towels from the Final Fours. Let's see if this is easy or not. But those are Briscoe's shoes from his triple-double game. And as you know, we don't have a lot of triple-doubles.
Tripping over Final Four.
Yeah, I was tripped over a Final Four. I have it so in the
normal
other
thing for most people.
In the other room, I have all the chairs in the shop are Final Four bench chairs, which just a friend that works in NCAA, and they're getting rid of them at the end of the Final Four. And I'm like, absolutely. So I want kids to come in and sit in
if you
a
have friends
piece of
in the
history.
NCAA, why did we not get Enes Kanter cleared? Why did some of those things? I feel like
I didn't know him then.
If you have this much pull, I feel like we could have got Big Z getting cleared. I feel like we could have expedited a lot of these processes with some of your help.
I wish I knew him then. I'd have been on the horn like crazy.
These are my favorite shoes of all time, by the way, the Hyper Dunks.
Dude, I love those things. And then, so I would chase these down, eBay, auctions, different things back in the day, because I was living in North Carolina for a while, and man, I was a pilgrim in an unholy land down there. Like, it was not easy. But different, like that is actually, if you look on the back, it'd be probably hard to show on camera, but it says UKIT 1957, and that was one of Vernon Hatton's watches. I don't know if it'll show up, but so sometimes it's auctions, it's estate sales, it's different things that you just keep an eye out and you go for it. That's one of my favorites. If you come in and you scan this, it takes you to a clip of Cousins tipping it in against Mississippi State. One of my favorite things ever.
Let's just see how this works.
If you click that, yep.
Oh, there we go.
And these are the shoes he's wearing when he tips it in against Mississippi State. So the goal is to have you be able to be in here, like maybe somebody in your family's in the card shop hanging out, which can take a long time if you're a card guy, you know. And they can come do a self-guided tour through all this and reminisce. And that's the best part of this. That's why I did it. Grandfather, grandson, grandmother, granddaughter, because there are a lot of girls that collect. That don't sleep on that. But other people can come in here. This is one of my favorite. So this guy comes up. That's the other thing. It's like, so once you build the museum, people will show up. And they'll say they've got different things that they just want to donate. That is Adolph Rupp's funeral program. A guy in Phoenix comes up to me and says, I got two things. Never seen him before, never seen him since. He says, I got two things for you. I want to give you this. This is from Adolph Rupp's funeral. And he goes, I want to give you this. Louisville Infractions, signed by Katina Powell, the hooker that caused them. And I'm like, what is going on? I want them in you. I was like, absolutely.
Two moments of history in such different realms. Like such unbelievable difference between the two. They deserve to be side by side in your shop.
And that's where they are. They are up here. And then, you know, a letter signed by Rupp to Claude Sullivan that I got the same as that microphone. Things like that. There are so many different stories in all of this. Let's see, what else can I say?
Like some people would just dream of an Adolph Rupp signature. You get like an actual letter from Adolph Rupp.
Oh, there's some fun ones. Like, it's nuts. Like that over there, that's one of my favorite stories in here. That's a stuffed wildcat. A mother comes in, first couple weeks we're open, says, I've got to get this out of the house. I say, I'm going to buy it for this story. We put that up there, put a cardinal in its thing, and then it's paw. 2 weeks later, a guy comes in and goes, is that my wildcat? It was the son. And I was like, dude, your mom sold it to me. It wasn't my fault. But, yeah, we call it Cat Riley. That's our store mascot.
The store mascot. I like Golden Flake with Rick Pitino up there.
Isn't that awesome?
That's nice. Is the cereal still in it?
No, thank God. You probably have smelled it when you came in. That the football WHAS sign is actually off taxis in Louisville.
Wow.
I would also say there's another version of this. That shoe's signed by Cliff, but I got another one of them right here. It's a sneaky one. I love it. It is really early in the PEs, which are player edition or player exclusive, and you see the date, 12/13/2003. You say, well, what was that in December? And that was the game against Michigan State at Ford Field when they were trying to break the all-time college basketball attendance record for a regular season game. And these are a pair of unworn shoes, and those are Cliff's shoes, who I was an academic counselor for.
How were his grades?
Anyway, on to the next thing. Then I guess I can tell this story now. It's probably been a long time. Do we want to do into that?
That's why we did this. That's why we're doing this.
So, oh gosh, I feel like I need a drink of water and like walk around the building a couple times before I tell this. So, if you all saw Giannis break the scoring record for a single season Milwaukee Bucks game a couple years ago, was it 2 years ago? Yeah, or no, 2 years ago. He dropped 64 in a
was
game.
this past season?
Yeah, past
This
season.
is rookie year. Oscar's rookie year.
Oscar's rookie year. Dropped 64 in a game. It was also the first time Oscar had scored officially in the NBA. And again, we've gotten to be very close friends. So he had scored in the in-season tournament, but that doesn't count. So his first points were against Milwaukee Bucks at this crazy famous game of Giannis dropping 64. It was crazy. So then after the game, the Pacers have a tradition of taking the ball and for a rookie, any rookie, and painting it saying first NBA points. So they do that. Giannis freaks out trying to get the ball, fighting everybody, running down the hallway. There are a million articles on it. And they give him a ball. He goes to the press conference. You can watch this. He goes, yeah, they gave me a ball, but I remember how it felt. I don't think this is the ball. This isn't the real ball. So I text Oscar after the game. I'm like, hey, Oscar, man, why are you starting fights with everybody? You know, doing like the last guy in the world to start a fight. And I'll send you a screenshot of this. He texts me and says, I've got the real ball. I'm going to put it in your shop. And I think I fainted. Once I woke up, I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is the real ball from Oscar's first career points and Giannis's all-time scoring record for the Milwaukee Bucks, which is, you think about that, right? Like Kareem played for the Bucks, Ray Allen, Oscar Robertson, like how many people, this is the all-time record. And then later I texted Oscar, I'm like, man, I'm never going to forget when you and Giannis combined for 66 points that night. He had 2 and Oscar had 64. But that is something it will, again, not be here forever, just like these trophies. But that does not belong in a card shop in Kentucky. I totally get it. Like, that needs to be in Naismith Hall of Fame.
And I like how
Oscar's house is where it belongs.
And Oscar plays for the Utah Jazz now. So, like, that is such an important piece of Milwaukee Bucks history. And the guy that it's commemorating doesn't even play for the team anymore.
And I think his agent is Giannis's agent now. And I was like, well, that's going to be an interesting party. Like, I don't know how that's going to go. But that is it, and it's here. And you can see he just brings by all these wonderful trophies. The G League Rookie of the Year, the First Team All-G League, the G League Rookie of the Year First Team. And he leaves them here to see. And I'm telling people, these are not, like, people ask me all the time, is this real? I'm like, yes, I didn't get a replica G League Rookie of the Year trophy. I mean, I'm diehard. I ain't that diehard.
I don't know. Indiana Mad Ants gear is pretty sick.
I have more than anybody in Kentucky, I can tell you that. I got so much Mad Ants gear and different things that he'll keep in here, and then I'll have to fill it up. But I would also say this shop is probably about a third of what I own. There's some craziness down in other places.
I've been there. I've seen it.
You see,
you have helped supply some of my office. So the backdrop of this show usually is the
big cards.
Willie Cauley-Stein and Karl Anthony Towns backdrops with John Wall. I got that from Jimmy. He has dozens of those that come from the Joe Kraft Center.
Yeah.
Just in storage. Like that's just extra stuff that he has.
And I think part of the escalation of this for me was living in North Carolina for 20 years and fighting the good fight every day with somebody. And I was like, no, we got to get more. We got to get more. Like, when I was a principal, my office was all Kentucky stuff. And man, we beat Carolina. I was just rubbing my hands that night. Like, ooh, come on. This is an old locker from Memorial back in the day, and you can see where different players came in and signed it. Hashimu, Cotton Nash, Wayne Turner, Johnny Cox, Terrence Jones. They're all over the inside of this. Actually, if you're wondering why there's a Miami Marlins, that is something we're going to give to Austin Kearns. It's his Jackie Robinson Day jersey. They didn't make Tayshaun replicas that year, maybe because, LeBron and Kobe and all those other guys were on the team. But since I was his academic counselor, he's one of the coolest guys and so kind.
My number one fan.
That's my guy. He was like, I know where this is going. But there is some Oscar signed stuff. This is John Wall's first jersey. That's from the Miami game.
That is unbelievable.
Which is pretty amazing Miami of Ohio game, when he knocked that in. This is from when they were in London and Cal got a Chelsea jersey. They visited Chelsea, but University of Kentucky won. And there's so many different stories of how these end up here. It doesn't make any sense, some of it, but That is, and I bought that at an auction. That is his jersey. You can see it says game used 96 Final Four, which was that game I went to as a high school senior. And that's a special one to me. I found an old hat rack, and I was like, well, let's change that up. I like to have lots of different ideas. And so I put PEs across all of that. That's a special shoe. I traded a friend of mine on the staff for those. That was the game they wore these shoes for Bill Kitely, who, when I worked there, I wasn't a manager, but I was pretty young, and I got to go hang out with all the managers, dear friends, DJ Geddes, Aaron, all that whole crew, Dave Judy, my guys, and got to go get a pair of those. And I Mr. Kiley is the best. Then you kind of get into, some of this is pro stuff, obviously. Love our guy, Jody. And so some of these, Nick Richards did a signing in the shop. So I went and bought one of his game-worn jerseys that wasn't too expensive and got him to sign that. He barely fit under the air conditioner. This is connections in the card world.
Sick.
But that is from the photo shoot when they were doing John Wall's first cards.
Did you Dougie in that? I feel like that's something I would have done.
Me Dougieing would break the internet in a bad way. Like, they'd be like, no, we've got to turn this off. Like, just shut it down.
No such thing as bad press.
It'd be like,
buddy.
War Games, shut it down now. Nobody needs to see this.
And now that's in the Olympics, so you can win a gold medal by dancing that way.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah, right. Then I'll end up like the Australian lady. That'd be just a disaster. That's an Alex Poitras playoff jersey, and it was knowing where to look on certain auctions. Sometimes you can get really good stuff. They're selling stuff in game in the arena, and it's a bid set up, and you can go bid on these shoes that are game worn. They're just going down to the locker room and selling something to put some cash in. It's real. So okay, and it comes with all the authentication. Then.
Hold on, I don't want to move past. What about this?
Oh, this was awesome. We actually talked about this on Bonstar. So this was a suit that Cal told his guys to get rid of. And the reason they told him to get rid of it is because if you look inside, it's spelled wrong. His name is misspelled. Calipari. And I don't know who was going to see that unless it was a pretty intimate press conference. But they said, get rid of the suit. And the guy was like, do you want this? They got rid of it for him.
So
and
how
I was
did
like,
he notice
yes.
that? Like, do you think he was just looking at the fine details of...
Probably an Armani, I guess. That's the only Armani suit I got. I can tell you that.
Can I try this on?
Of course. Well, what's funny is if you watch the Pawn Stars episode, he says, I used that in a Final Four. So I only found out later that that's a Final Four used
Put the pants on.
deal. Right, yeah, I don't know.
Cal, this is for you, buddy.
Oh, this is another one of my favorites. I had a 98 Jeff Shepard jersey, and Stacy and Jeff came in here to talk about Reed's card deal, and we got to hang out. We ended up hanging out for 2 hours. Oh, that looks sharp.
Cal,
hey, put in Rob. Let's go. Sorry.
I'm starting Reed Shepard. Speaking of this,
so
Reed Shepard, I'm starting you today.
So it's crazy.
Rob Dillingham.
That is a Jeff Shepard jersey. They were all in here at some point, and I said, let's have them all sign it because they're all Shepard, and it's Reed, Stacy, and Jeff all on a Reed Shepard or a Jeff Shepard game-worn jersey. I was like, let's go. Let's go. And here's another really unique one that I love that came from friends in the program. I got the jersey. If you recognize this, this is the Bahamas jersey. And that is Booker's Bahamas jersey that I was later able to go get signed separately. But they didn't make any replica Bahama jerseys like they did this year, I believe, or Oscar's second year. But I've got Booker and Ulyss, both their Bahamas jerseys. And they only made a couple that they wore for the short trip. But I was like, that's it. We're good. Got what I need.
So when you approach Devin Booker with this, what's his reaction? Like, how many times have there been, how in the hell did you get your hands on that?
I get that sometimes. I would say I got a great story. Shawn Kemp. So Shawn Kemp actually played in the USSR versus Kentucky, Indiana All-Stars game here. And he had cards made by Oscar Combs, who used to run a card shop with the Catspaws.
The GOAT.
And I was actually in the group as a 12-year-old, 10-year-old that picked him up from the airport, and I got him to sign a card. I later lost it. Great regret in my life. I go back, I find a blank card. I see Sean Kemp is signing at a show, and I go back up, and I'm like, dude, I was just a little fat kid, but now I'm coming back to you because you signed one of these for me. And he was like, how did you, what? And I was like, yeah, I just talked to him for a little bit. But that sometimes happened, but usually the answer goes back to what I was telling you about Euless, where like, if we had known, we'd have kept some of our stuff. But like when they would leave, when I worked in Kentucky, at the end of the year, there would just be trash cans of shoes they were throwing out because nobody took them with them and they didn't want them. Like, some of the stuff is crazy that I have. Like, I have Final Four runner-up rings of people. They tried to call them, give them back. I don't want it. I don't want it. Well, it's on my desk now, buddy. Not a problem. But also, I'm not selling it for profit. It, to me, it comes in here and goes into the museum where I can do a signing and see a grandfather and grandson and father and son come in here, mother and daughter, and enjoy this. I was at that game, honey. Look at this. And that to me is the joy I want to bring here and through the card stuff.
It's just
sorry, it goes on.
Like it's you have to just be here to understand what this is. Like when we talked about like wanting to do this show, it was because it's not just for this. It's not just to, be here and show you guys this stuff. It's to say, like, there is so much cool stuff out there for the average Kentucky fan looking for a hobby, looking for lifelong memories with your dad, with your mom, with your daughter, with your kid. There's so many of those missed opportunities, I think, that I was that kid growing up that... I mean, I'm a big kid in a candy store right now with this, but like I envision this place and I see it as the next generation of Kentucky, Kentucky fans. This needs to be their second home. Like it would have been for me as a kid.
Well, that's all I want to foster, right? Like, look at my shirt. I got Mashburn on here. I've got expensive card, crazy one. But I'd rather you take one of those than take my $3 Mashburn card as a kid because the emotional attachment to that is massive. And that's why you always read in the news about these really crazy expensive cards. Like, that's not the majority. You can now, these guys have cards while they're playing here. Robin Reed and Bradshaw and Edward, they all had cards last year. Wait, you can collect the cards and then watch the game of them what? I wish I'd had that when I was younger, but now we've got it. You can start a collection for nothing and just enjoy it. Never sell it. Keep it forever. Tell your kids and the grandkids. I love that. It's that glitter that falls on you that you get to hold on to, and I cannot get enough of that.
So you talked a little bit about the current player cards. What is your role with that? When it's obviously the museum is here for the average Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
The card shop is there for the average Kentucky fan, but you also have a pivotal role for this, year after year now with the current Kentucky team in their NIL efforts. That's such a different thing for us in college sports now today, where somebody like you can now step in and have such an important, potentially decision-altering role for some of these kids as they make their college commitments.
Well, it's really cool because, and I've got a meeting with Coach Pope, none of it's been set and all that, about how can I help with this shop with NIL, because we have signings here. But in the past, and again, this is only a year and a half old, right? There's not a lot of direction, which is what every college is complaining about. But usually what happens is an agent for that kid reaches out and says, hey, we want so-and-so to do a signing in your shop, but it'll cost, you got to pay us $20,000 up front. Well, that doesn't really work at all for these little businesses too that could do it. But and what I want to do is, instead of sticking that player in a room to sign a bunch of jerseys and pictures for 2 hours, I want them to sit at a table out here and meet the heroes, like my customers and people who come in here and hang out and meet Rob Dillingham. And that was awesome when he did that. And we've had a bunch, but I've actually had more talks with, like, when I got that Shepherd jersey signed, that whole night started from Jeff and Stacy wanting to say, explain to us how cards work now. And I've had several of those talks with players saying, okay, if you're going to choose a company to go to, think of these things. Think of this. Whatever it was when you were playing, it is not that now. This is a different game. So I think this is what universities are struggling with. How do we add value to our NIL deals by getting people involved with local businesses, but also tempering some of the stuff with agents and different, agencies on what can be expected? Because I think if they not lower the price because of, profit, but you could do more out in the community and raise your Q score for your advertising if you did more of that than rather saying, I want $100,000 to do something at a car dealership. Well, nobody can do that. Right. I can't do $25,000 for a 2-hour signing. But that's the way we do it now, and all the people that follow me know this. You do a signing, you keep 100% of it. I'm just going to host it. And if you mark it up and stay as long as you want, you'll be beloved for that because you met all these wonderful people that go back and say, oh my gosh.
The ball's in their court at that point.
Right. Rob Dillingham was awesome. And then it doesn't come out of my pocket. I don't take some huge loss because, the night we planned it a week in advance and the night before you lost. Mm-hmm. Okay, no, not that would really happen too much here, but still. Okay. You do this. I guess they have the opportunity now to do it. It's just sometimes agents get in the way. Sometimes they're great. But it's more of a lot of explanation about the card industry and what it is and what it can be. But I'm hoping to work a deal with Kentucky to get them all in here all the time and just help, because we had the volleyball girls in here after they won the title. And I said, I'm just going to pay you. And you don't have to. I'm not going to charge anybody that's coming in. And they ended up being out in the front part peppering with little girls.
That's unbelievable.
What's better than that? That's fine. It's worth $1,000 I gave them. Fine. So we did a TBT signing this year. And I said, y'all keep 100% of it, and it was great. It was perfect. But there's no stress in waiting on will this work or not. It's going to work with Kentucky fans. You just put the ball in their court and say, go.
The most enjoyable NIL experience that you've dealt with, kid that has come in here and just, been an absolute joy with you personally, with the fans, that has been easy to negotiate with.
Gosh.
Made your life a whole lot easier.
That's a great question. Rob and his brother, Dillingham, were awesome. They were really great. I've had some great experiences. It's not NIL, but like Stevie Johnson is awesome. Tony Delk, it was amazing. Just the time they spent. He actually left his son here for a little while, just for the next day for us, and we just took care of him because he was
babysitting services with Jimmy.
Yeah, like we got plenty of stuff for you to play with. But I would say that was great. Jamin Davis was awesome. His parents were military. There was no question who was in charge in that family. I can tell you that. It was yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. But I would say Rob was great. His interactions with the people and the kids.
Probably because of the reputation that he had coming in as kind of like the I'm the cool guy. This maybe
with the shifts
there would be maybe like a perception that he would be kind of above that. Like he wouldn't want to have the one-on-one interactions with the player, and for him to kind of turn around and go above and beyond in that regard.
Now there was no money changing hands because we couldn't, but number one all time. No question, is Oscar. When Oscar's in here, he just comes in and signs stuff. He just does it and hangs out because we're friends. But every picture, every autograph, he's the number one best. It's not close. He's 1, 2, and 3. And then after that, where money changed hands, I would say Rob is probably next on that list. And his brother was awesome too, Denzel.
Man, let's wrap this thing up because we could be here for 36 hours if we really wanted to, because there's so much to soak in and digest.
You can go next door down my office. Got some stained glass from the Naismith. There's no problem.
We can get that can be for the premium subscribers. If you're a KSR Plus subscriber, we can do that for some of the extra homegrown. Is that the homegrown is our discount code? Make sure you go do that. So subscribe with KSR Plus. But let's wrap up this portion at the absolute minimum. Jimmy, this is an absolute blast. How can fans be a part of this? How can they help out? How can they be a part of history the way you are?
Well, I just think it's come in and enjoy it. I think that there is, again, I'm not trying to sell you anything by doing this. This is just joy. I think that come in and tell the story. There's pretty easy to do when you scan and you walk through this. I think it's about passing it on. I think that's the difference. I've lived in a lot of places, like I said, Carolina, Georgia. The difference between Kentucky fans and everybody else is it doesn't matter age, it doesn't matter gender, none of that matters because it is part of the legacy of the family as much as the state. And I think when you can come in and say, let me tell you about this pair of shoes, it's not just, oh, cool Kobe's. It's, I was at that game with your mom, with your dad, and come in and be a part of it. Like that's the joy of it. Or I've had plenty of people come in and then say, we're going to make a display in our own house with what we have. And
Which is what I've done with my office.
Right. And then it gets passed on. And what's better, look, life ain't a dress rehearsal, right? Like this is what we got. And the good Lord every day takes care of us, get up, move on. So what are we going to do to make it every day worth it? Right? And to me, that's why I like to give stuff from this museum to people when you can tell it means more to them than on a shelf here. Let's do that. And even if it's just coming in here and what you're passing on isn't the item, it's the story, do it.
Name of the shop, address of the shop, hours of operation.
Sorry, I got into like real philosophical stuff.
It's great.
I'll do that.
You hang around Oscar Sheboy, and that's just kind of, he rubs off on you in the best way.
And I just want to say real quick, thanks for doing this to all of you, the way you do it. As a guy that lived in Carolina and never missed an episode and doesn't now either, when you'll bring on Reed Shepherd and Madison, I must do it all. But for those of us when you're far away or you're studying in London and like, I've got this tie to home because of the way y'all do it and it's authentic. That's what people always ask me, how did you get this stuff? I say, be authentic and be kind and you'll never know what'll happen. So thank you all for being authentic and kind and carrying the weight of the legacy the right way. I mean that.
We still need to know what the shop's name is.
369 Romney Road, Lexington, Kentucky. If you type in Roadshow Shop, Kentucky Roadshow Shop, it will pop up. I'm in here most times if I'm not around at the other shops, but my guys, Trey and Max, you'll be taken care of. When
KSR, former KSR extraordinaire,
yes,
Trey Huntsman.
On baseball. He knows his stuff on baseball cards, trust me. And Max will get your cards graded the right way, trust me. But Romney Road, Kentucky Roadshow Shop, and follow us on all the places, Twitter and Instagram and all that, and then just holler if you ever see me. I want to shake your hand and talk about Tayshaun Prince every time.
That's how we met and how I became very close friends. And thank you all for listening. Make sure you come be a part of this just like we are. I'm sure if you come stop by, there's a pretty solid chance we're going to be here too. So we kind of had a little squad coming on. Shawn, thanks for coming on and experiencing this. With Zach is still here. We got Drew Brown just enjoying life in the background.
Sorry I yapped so much.
No, this was great. As soon as I stepped in and saw the Mark Pope 96 jersey, it instantly took me back to my childhood, my earliest memories of Kentucky basketball. Man, if this place could talk, wow.
Wow.
It yaps just like we do. We got to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you go subscribe to KSR Plus. There is a discount right now. You do not want to miss 50% off annual subscriptions with the promo code Homegrown. Make sure you do that. All the intel, all the fun stuff that we talked about to start the show with Malachi, all that. You find that stuff there first. Go subscribe. It's an absolute blast. Thank you for Jimmy for this opportunity. We'll see you next time.
See y'all.